Land speed record.
All right, welcome to the December 5th Board of Trustees meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Heather tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's start with public comment. I see two members of the public. If there's no comments from them,
The new speed signs look wonderful.
thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Let's continue. I'll let Lonnie take over for here.
Okay, I please have a motion to approve the minutes of the November 7th meeting. A motion by trustee Frankel,
I'll second them.
second by the mayor, by show of hands, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next is a motion to approve claims. First, are there any questions on the claims? Okay, being none, may I have a motion to approve the claims?
Since I reviewed each and every one of them, I will make the motion to approve.
And do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, trustee Collins, seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Recusal.
And of course, Max, as usual, refuses from the Art of Landscaping. Okay. Next, update on our financial software investigation. We spoke with and had a demonstration by another company that is used by some of the villages in our area. They were lower in price than the KVS cloud software. However, we're continuing to do some more investigation and hopefully can figure out where we're going to go with this, since our current software is on the server, which is due to fail any minute.
And I'd also like to report that I was part of this demo as well. And not knowing how our existing program works, but the little that Suzanne has showed me, this new program is light years ahead when it comes to reporting and I think ease of use. Like Suzanne was working on a report for me today that she had to drag and drop each and everything into a report, which is the same report she runs every month, but manually has to do these things. The new system, it'll be a canned report. You know, you'll save that 5 minutes of dragging and dropping. You just hit click, run report, you'll have your report. So I think this was a good demo. And
Yeah, it
kind
has
of,
some nice features that would be very helpful to us.
and we're doing some price comparisons and trying to figure things out, but I will have a presentation on this, I guess, next month, or a discussion on this next month.
Yeah, well, we have some more numbers and some more data.
Right.
Okay.
Ronnie, can I just bring to your attention, this must have been a cut and paste, but you have me voting no.
I was just gonna say that, because you voted no on every single thing.
And
Now you remember that.
What you said?
you have, whoever wrote this has me voting no on everything. I only
Oh,
voted
it wasn't
no
cut
on
and
one thing.
paste.
On the speed
Oh
limit.
my God, thank you.
So
for
Mary Jo, I
pointing
did
that out.
actually,
I'm so
my
sorry.
apologies, I did point this out previously. I didn't reread to make sure it got done, but I did
Okay,
catch.
I just wanted, just for the record, I
No,
did
no.
not vote
Oh,
no.
no.
No, it was-
thank you.
it was-
That's
it
an
was-
important one.
Caught earlier, it just wasn't corrected.
Okay, thank you.
I just.
So my apologies.
Let alone, as Gary pointed out, how could I have seconded it if I didn't?
That'd be a classic
Voted
move.
no.
Yeah, really.
That's nice.
Gotcha.
Oops.
All right, we want to go to the report on audit recommendations?
Yes, and the next thing on the agenda is that our audit report had several recommendations and suggestions to make us more compliant in the future, and Suzanne has a report that she's gonna go over.
Okay, according to our auditors, Skin in Favor, they had some suggestions and comments. Certain items that we pay before the monthly audit, they want us to be specific in certain bills that can be paid. Not all of them can be paid before.
So for example, like what's in like Mary Jo's hand right now? Oh, you just changed the page. If you look at the claims, whatever is in bold,
Whatever is in bold.
we pay
is
ahead of
what we paid
time
before
the
but-
approvals. Going forward, we're going to have significantly less of them. So everything here that's in bold, we'll only have a smaller amount. That's one of the
So
recommendations.
the state controller specifies a very short list of claims that can be paid prior to board approval. So we'll
Mostly
be
like
following the state controller's
utilities
recommendations.
and, anything that's got like a date beforehand, like say like a Home Depot credit card.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very small list.
Yeah,
It's basically utilities, we can pay the garbage company in advance. We can pay contracts, multi-year contracts in advance. There are a few
so
other
going
items I have to
forward,
go over again.
we'll adjust that.
Yeah, we will.
They're asking for an improvement of internal controls. They would like to see that journal entries are reviewed by a third party. But our accountant does come in and review them, so really that is considered a third party. So basically, it's just continuing in doing that.
Right, and documenting, it's never, the accountant needs to document either by signing off or by, issuing a memo that he has reviewed them.
The village investment policy needs to include the depositories and the maximum deposit limits.
Right,
The policy has been updated and it's ready for resolution of approval. by the
yeah, that's
board.
tonight, yeah, so in your packet is the updated, policy that includes our depositories and the, maximum deposit based on recommendations by the state controller's office.
The capital asset policy should not include items under the capitalization threshold. The capital asset schedule included items under the capitalization threshold amount. In the future, we'll make two schedules, one for capital assets and another one for inventory. And budget modifications should be approved by the board prior to the expenditure. When a particular line item is expended through the budget, the modification needs to be presented to the board before we pay bill.
Right, and interesting thing about the new software we looked at, it automatically red flags anything that's an overage, and then it makes it very easy to spot, where we need to pass resolutions for transfer.
And in essence, you could probably run a report that just gives you those exceptions, so automatically we would know anything that's not in compliance.
Is there a threshold, like below a certain amount, it wouldn't, or is it anything?
What do you mean?
But this is in our each budget line item.
Yeah.
So let's say the mayor's budget is like, $500.
Right,
And the mayor is going to sign off on something that would put him at $650. It would flag us that the mayor's budget line
got you,
is
okay,
over.
got
Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
you.
that's.
I was just thinking like if you
No, but
if you
that's-
have like stamps, $50 and you spend $60, is there a minimum amount or
It'll
any
show-
single budget line?
It'll show the overage, but when it's minimal like that,
Yeah.
it's not gonna make a big deal. It's
That's what I meant.
Right,
Yeah,
like
they-
stamps is like, in the budget line or something like contracted services for the
Right.
office, so it's a very big number.
But if we were just like, say, a line like where we had equipment, like the trucks that Rich uses, if we had, like last year, we had that big truck expense, and we had to get it approved before we could expend the money, even though we needed the truck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Okay, next is ARC report.
Okay, this was November 28th meeting. We had 4 items on the agenda. 108 Cardinal, that was a second floor addition that was based on some comments that we had prior, and that was approved as submitted. 19 Country Club Drive. This one actually, they had gone around through the zoning board. They got some, I guess, I'll call it feedback from the zoning board and residents, and they came back with a complying plan, so they did not need a variance. They already gotten some comments from us prior to the zoning, so they came back with this plan. We had a couple comments that they have to go, but approved with those conditions. 132 Rennie, that was first and second floor additions. We had some minor comment about some trim work to be done, and that was approved with that condition. 41 Knollwood was the first floor addition. We asked them to come back. They needed some additional work to sort of make that design what we felt more unified with the existing house. So we asked them to come back for our next meeting. And that's what I had for that meeting.
Thank you. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the findings of the architectural review committee?
I'll make the motion.
I hear a second.
I'll second.
Trustee Janice, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Abstain.
you.
Ronnie, I abstain.
And of course, abstention. Okay. Next is Steve, the punch list of the road contract and Dan. What's going
Okay,
on?
so the punch list work, the smaller items have all been completed. They've cleaned the driveways the best they can,
Thank you.
hoping we didn't get any calls.
I didn't hear anything. Rich, did you hear anything? Good, so I'll assume that
Okay.
they're,
The larger items, one being the new transverse gutter that crosses Fernwood up near Woodland Road. I have been told that they're going to complete that, which was already in the contract.
Right.
As a line item, and they're going to complete all of that by the end of next week. In addition,
are they gonna have to close the road down? I assume so.
I would think so, yes.
They'll be cognizant of bus schedules,
Yes, we will let them know that before they go out there.
and then Ronnie will let the residents know. Just
Yes.
because they
Absolutely.
can't come that way, they have to come the other way.
Now, one of the other punch list items that was a concern was ponding at number 66, which is right where Fernwood and Oakwood Circle come together. We were out there on last Thursday, right after the rain from Wednesday. It was bone dry.
Perfect.
I shot some grades. There is slight pitch from one side to the other, so down the road, if we need to do something, we can. But to have us do something now, 24 hours after the rain and it be dry,
Well, I think your original bone of contention here was the constant sprinkler usage in that area was
Yes.
keeping that area full of water. So
Yes.
now that we're out of sprinkler season, it's dry again.
it's dry.
Okay.
Right. And I think the homeowner mentioned last time that there was a pre-existing condition there anyway. It's flat. The two repairs on Country Club that we awarded to McGowan to
Yes.
do, he said that he would do those by the end of next week as well. So hopefully, we'll have all this done at the close of next week.
Great, thank
Well,
you.
what about the issue where Woodland meets right by you, the ponding, from last year, not from McGowan, but the previous people?
American neighbors.
That
Yes.
was with respect to the performance bond.
That's the intersection.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we need to get a contractor on board that's gonna give us a price to do that work. And then we go after the performance bond. I know we confirmed that it was for 2 years. So we are still within.
Do you think it's possible that we could get this done this year before the end of asphalt season?
I think so.
Can we try to, just because I don't want things ponding if we're gonna have ice situations, because that's pretty bad ponding.
Yeah.
Can you still get asphalt this year?
I mean,
It's close.
yeah, it's,
If it gets really cold.
Usually they shut down by before the holidays.
They go by the weather.
Yeah.
If it stays warm, race on keep going all the way until, I've seen it go into January, but it just gotta stay
Yeah.
40s and 50s.
So let's see if we can get it done before the end of asphalt
Christie, we
season.
need to reach out to the bond company and let them know that we're going to do this repair, under the bond, because American Paving was unresponsive to doing it.
okay.
Is something that you can do?
Yeah, I can work with you on how we can get it.
Okay, great, thank you.
You probably have the info on the bond, right?
I have the old bond.
Okay, so we'll work and we'll take care of it.
Okay, I'll just make sure I send it to you.
Also, just an update on the GPR of the underground utilities for Middle Neck Road.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Two prices that came back. One was around 22,000. The other one was, I believe, 15,000. We're waiting for one other price. Again, that's something that the county is reimbursing us for. So we have the full survey.
Right.
We're just waiting for the GPR now to get the underground utilities, and we'll have everything on Middle Neck Road.
And surprisingly, the county called me to find out, what was the status of our claim, because they would like to pay it. So,
Good.
yeah, I know, I thought it was gonna be a real fight getting the money from them. But I do have a contact there now, and once we get that done, we should get reimbursed within a fairly reasonable amount of time.
And we'll be repaving the
I
road.
know, couldn't believe it. Great, thank you.
Okay.
Anything new? Yeah, well,
All the
thank
new
you for,
speed signs are up.
what?
All the new speed signs are up.
Yeah.
Thank you
Except
for
for
that.
one. I'm just got.
Liar.
Good, because we paid for them.
He has, so Rich has replaced all the existing ones. This is an additional one.
From 30 to 25.
And thank you for finishing with all the tulip plantings. I think we're done for the season.
Hopefully see them in April.
Right.
So, May.
And I know you have so much free time now because you did not have to change all of the street signs on Sunnyvale.
Yeah,
Which I,
no, none of that yet.
It's not happening.
not happening.
No action?
As a matter of fact, he's gone totally dark. He has no lights on in his house.
All the other people around, yeah.
So he's not doing it. My grandchildren are unhappy.
Take up someone else. Okay, next, attorney's report. Oh, I'm so sorry. My report. So in your packet, you have the investment fund, and on page 2, item 7, you can see that the depositories have been listed with their maximum amount of investment. And I would like to ask someone to offer a resolution to amend, to amend the investment policy and bring it up to date with those additions.
Can you just point out which section numbers
Okay,
have been updated?
Page 2, section 7, designation of depositories. At the bottom of the page.
So
I go 1 to 4.
I go 1 to 4.
we only go 1 to 4.
Yeah, I got
You're
seven.
missing
Have
I'm
to-
sorry.
sections.
I have 7.
I want you to go back here, I'll pass it around. Here, this, down at the bottom of the page.
I think when you printed this, it was probably back-to-back pages because you're missing all the
Could
odds.
be, could be. Well, I saved so much paper because
Well, the last
it's like a
slide.
12-page document.
5 and 7.
So if we're adding these things.
Actually, I'm missing 2 and 3, but I have 7.
If section 7.
Right.
If section 7's not paid.
So Ronnie, it's section 7 that's updated and,
That's it.
Section 7?
Okay.
No, that's section 12.
But when I was just checking the controller's website on how to update policies, it did specify that any changes must be done by resolution.
does anybody have questions or can we, I'll make the motion to approve this.
All in favor?
What are we, we're just improving, we're just.
It's only,
Just
it's
approve the
only,
depositories
it's only
and the
section
max- and the-
7.
and
We're only
the
approving
deposits.
Yes, we're only approving that. It's in the change.
We don't need to finish.
We don't, we really just need this and not the rest. But yes, I know.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Now, attorney's report, thank you.
With respect to Board of Zoning, we just received the transcript today, so I went through that, so I have an updated report. There were 2 cases that the board took action on, one of which this board already will be familiar with. It's the property owned by Mr. Isaacoff on 110 Peachtree Lane. It involved a retaining wall partially
Yep.
on village property, and the village approved their proposal. The board of trustees approved that proposal subject to an appropriate agreement, which was prepared for the resident. They then appeared before the Board of Zoning Appeals, and quite frankly, consistent with what this board did, that board approved their request for a variance that was needed with respect to the retaining wall, with the idea that there will be no additional walls that will be constructed at the site. The second application that you'll see is for 104 Woodhill Lane. While that seems to be a large request, it actually isn't. There's a bit of a backstory here. This property was previously owned by someone else. That person came before the Board of Zoning Appeals and at that time requested a variance with respect to a concrete block shed and that was granted. At the time that was granted, it was a dimensional request for setbacks, I believe. The Board of Zoning said, we're going to grant this. However, we notice you have other structures on the property. You need to legalize those. That owner then didn't do that and then sold the property. The new owner came before the board to, in fact, comply with the prior direction of the Board of Zoning Appeals. One of the requested variances had been for a shed, which they ended up just removing, a separate shed. As to the other portions of the request before the Board of Zoning, the board felt that there was no detriment to the surrounding area, and in fact, one of the interesting things at the hearing was they showed how much screening, which was incredibly dense. There was just very little way that anybody in the surrounding area would see the structures on the property, and the board approved the request. A second meeting that was held, and this was the first in some time, was the Landmarks Commission met on November 10th. I forwarded a brief report for the board's review. I know that 2 members of the Landmarks Commission are here tonight. What the Landmarks Commission is doing is that they have gone out, and the code allows them to do this, is to, on their own motion, identify certain properties that perhaps should be considered to be designated as landmarks or historic sites within the village. It's really a 2-step process. The Landmarks Commission in this village holds a hearing and then renders a determination, but not an ultimate decision. The Board of Trustees makes the ultimate decision. So as I said, there are currently 4 properties before the Landmarks Commission. That's Sands Barn, the Flower Hill Cemetery, Elderfields Preserve, and the Frederick M. Eastman Carriage House. 2 of the properties, that being the Flower Hill Cemetery and the Sands Barn, went through the full discussion on November 10th, and the commission felt, and in fact, the representative who had appeared with respect to the Sands Barn was fully in support of designation as a landmark. So there will be a written decision for the Landmarks Commission to review, and then that will be referred to the Board of Trustees to hold a public hearing. As to the other 2 applications that were pending, that being the Frederick Eastman House and the Elderfields Preserve, the owners were present. Nassau County owns Elderfields. The Eastman House is owned by private residents. Nassau County asked for an adjournment to fully vet the application and to come back before the commission. The commission granted that. That will be returning at their December meeting. As to the remaining property, the homeowners had a series of questions and concerns. The commission began the discussion, went through what the process involves, and then quite frankly, the homeowners asked for some time to think things through a bit more fully before the process is completed, and the commission, without any objection, put it over to the next meeting of the commission. So as I said, this is a commission that will, I think, intends to meet as regularly as they can as they review these types of properties. And then, as I said, they will ultimately be referred to this Board of Trustees for a full public hearing. This commission makes recommendations.
Which is
Jeff, I have a question.
this week, Thursday, what time?
December 8th in their meeting, I think at 5
p.m.
It's at 5 p.m. Okay.
So the- So,
5:30.
so what's the story with the Eastman House? It's already a Roslyn landmark, isn't it?
It is, and do you mind if I just respond?
Oh, okay.
So what happens is, it's not actually designated through the village of Roslyn. There is
The
a
society, well,
that owned it, and there's a covenant that restricts the manner of use, both, interestingly, the exterior and the interior, in terms of what can be done. Which
the
is-
Roslyn one goes there.
Yes. The village code does not restrict this village from also landmarking.
Which one takes precedent over the other?
Uh,
Or does it not matter?
They,
Is it
they,
both?
they really, neither one takes precedence over the other, and in fact, they would work together here. So and I can send you the covenants that exist.
Because I know that that's a Roslyn
Right.
landmark. So.
This provision would control only the exterior.
Gotcha.
The Roslyn would control the
Yeah,
interior.
Roslyn Strip.
And the property, I'm not their lawyer, but the property would be bound by both, because the covenant is gonna run with the land for that.
But you have to remember, so by this village, if we decide to landmark it, it'll be, I guess, in the building file. So that if they did apply, let's say demolish it, and our village was unaware of the covenant they have with the Historical Society, they can in theory knock that building down. So by,
But it's in the file of Village of Roslyn also.
but
Even though
it's not
in the Village of
Roslyn. Remember,
It's
this
not
is
the village.
Flower Hill. It's the Roslyn Historical Society, which is different than the Village of Roslyn. So they could apply for a building permit. We would be unaware. Let's say a future generation of this board would be unaware, and they could do a modification to the building. They could knock it down. They could do major exterior modification, and then the after the fact thing would be lawsuits about the covenant. So that wouldn't protect the house, which is why I'm glad the Landmark Commission is looking to. It makes sure that we don't permit something to happen that shouldn't happen. Because we're technically not aware of these covenants. The research, we now know about it, but otherwise we would not know these things exist. And we'd have no mechanism to enforce it.
I only know because I'm a landmarks commissioner for town Northampton. I know that property is that property is a Roslyn society, but yeah, I guess it's different. It's not the village.
It's just a covenant.
But I'm sure the Village of Roslyn probably knows what properties are on the
But it's not in the
Historic
village. It's not
Society.
in the
Right,
Village
it's
of
not in the
Roslyn.
village.
It's on the other side of the
It
viaduct.
wouldn't
They
be in
wouldn't
their building
know.
permit file, because
Right, it'd be us.
Yeah.
So in theory, we could have approved something, let's say without being landmarked, we could approve the house to be demolished. And it would be too late because we wouldn't have known
Right.
unless people brought it up that, hey, this covenant's on us. So it's to guarantee that this property stays intact as was intended.
And that's my report.
I just have a quick anecdote. I got a call this week from a lady who wants to know if she could buy a plot in the Flower Hill Cemetery.
That's
How much?
I'm thinking maybe we shouldn't landmark it, maybe we should run it as a working cemetery.
Well,
I don't know if that would be very popular.
Okay.
be some source of revenue. Come on.
really.
Quite possible.
Okay, mayor's report.
I got a few things. Number one, I attended Roslyn Fire Department's budget presentation a week ago, and they wanted to raise their fire tax by 7%. They gave very little documentation. I've given you now a printout of it in here if you want to review it. After a bunch of us objected, they came back to 6%, which I still think is kind of high. They really, in my opinion, didn't have a good enough explanation on why they were raising it other than saying costs are going up. But as trustees of this village, we don't raise our taxes 6 or 7% annually. And I would expect fire districts to kind of abide by the same kind of thing. So I will be objecting to this raise unless we get significantly more information explaining the line by line why they want to be increasing so much. So that's kind of one big issue I'm working on. Ronnie, first of all, I want to thank the Women's Club of Flower Hill for the amazing tree and menorah lighting ceremony that happened last night. Thank you again for donating the tree and the menorah, and we look forward to doing this on an annual basis.
Can the next time we do it, maybe the Women's Club could inform, send out a reminder so that, because people forget and a lot of people didn't know about it, so.
Okay, I can ask them to do so. It is mentioned in the village newsletter.
No, I know,
So
but
it's there.
some people don't read it and people are like, really? There was a tree lighting?
Other than knocking on
Why
everybody's
don't we just
doorstep.
give them Frank's number?
Hear ye, hear ye. You just ride around your convertible.
I can. We did it at the fire. The fire department came with Santa, so maybe
I
we
know.
should drive around with the sirens for you, Frank. Ronnie and I met with Janet Carding today. There were a couple of issues we wanted to address with them on some complaints about how they're treating the garbage and some recycling issues. And I think we got good enough answers from Dejana that everything will hopefully be better. I, at some point, will communicate out to the residents on their new tips on recycling. So it makes things go a little smoother with the trucks. I met with the PWM, the Port Washington Manhasset Office of Emergency Management, and Frank will find this of interest. We now have access to a digital message board. So we can borrow it as we see fit if and when there's some sort of issue in our village and we need to notify people. Maybe for the tree lighting. Maybe for the tree lighting
Close.
stuff.
There you go.
Maybe for Fernwood, if we're gonna close the street, that might be something to think about, but we do have access to it. What we have to do is send Rich in the pickup truck and hook it up and drive it. So we can use it for those types of situations if it's something we need, like Fernwood, that'd be a great idea. I met with the Rosalind LoSAP, our finances look, that committee, our finances looking pretty good for I'll call it the retirement package for the fire department. Even we're in a downward year with the market, the investments are actually doing decent compared to the market. Again, thank you, Landmark Commission, the two members who are here for dealing with that. Good news from the IRS.
That's unusual
Yes,
statement.
I know, it's shocking. So
Never heard that before.
You know, in the past, we've been talking about the septic grants
Yeah,
up to
yeah.
20,000.
Oh, yes.
The IRS until
Right.
2 days ago was deeming that was considered income. So anybody who's getting this grant was going to have to pay tax on it. I think it's as of yesterday, or maybe the day before, the IRS came up with a new ruling saying that it is not a taxable item. So anyone who does get these grants, it's a pure $20,000 grant. So that's good.
Considering some of the money's coming from federal government, it makes sense.
Yes. Well, the IRS needed to have an opinion, and they finally had the opinion based on a lot of pressure from a lot of groups. And also, speaking to the septic grant people from Nassau County, they did say after our last communication to the residents, they've been hearing from Flower Hill residents with interest in the system. And I know of one resident who is looking to install one of these systems. Their permit is in right now. So that's good. We're starting to get a little traction with these new nitrogen reducing systems. This is from Claire. Claire's not here, but I'm going to read her update about the food drive. Big thank you once again to the Vincent Smith School for supporting our annual food drive, with all donations supporting the food bank at the JCC in Roslyn. The children also sorted and weighed the food this year, making it easier for area residents in need to receive these items. And big thanks to Rich for delivering all the food items. We're still encouraging residents to donate at the box in Village Hall, or if you need a pickup, you can call. We'll have someone try to come out. And next month, as we said just before, we're definitely going to be discussing from a software perspective the financial software system. And I think we will have a mini presentation on the Laserfish software. So I think we're going to look at discussing and possibly approving both of those systems at the next board meeting. I'll have a good one-page summary for everybody to look at instead of reading all the documentation. And I've got more, but I'm done. Thank you.
Any other trustee reports? Any old business? And we do have one item of new business. We're going to introduce a local law A of the year 2023, amending section 118.13 of the code regulating signs in the right of way. And that we will hold a public hearing on January 3rd at 7:30. And this law will state, no sign may be posted, attached, or affixed in any manner in any village right of way, nor upon any structure within any right of way. So we'll be able to remove the election signs that are really, driving hazard.
Or any commercials.
Or any commercial signs. as
Can
well
you,
as anything
can you
attached to a
remove
pole.
can you remove the election signs?
Yeah.
Isn't that exempt?
As long as this law applies to every commercial and election or,
Because I know Muncie
private
Park
sign.
doesn't allow election signs. I don't know
Yeah,
how they
if
get away
it's in
with
the right,
that.
if it's on
Yeah.
somebody's lawn, we can't touch it.
Yeah, I don't know how
If
Muncie
it's on
Park
our
gets away.
property,
I don't know how
we
Muncie
can
Park
remove
gets away with it. You can't have any political signs in Muncie Park.
Well, the reason that I think this is legal is as long as it's content neutral. In the village right of way, and the purpose and the basis for it is the aesthetic that the village wants to maintain the bucolic nature, if you will, of the right of way, you're allowed to remove those. Oftentimes, there's also a concern about sightlines, particularly on corner properties.
Yeah.
That becomes a problem.
What about the
Because it's
little address things? Some people have the little stakes with their like 27 or 42, and it's close to the road. That's
I wouldn't take somebody's street number off.
No,
As a matter of fact, the village, we have another law that requires street numbers.
it's mostly for it's signs. I mean, you see Middle Neck Road all the time. There's always the gym guys and junk luggers and all that stuff.
Right.
There's a lot of signage.
Yeah, I don't
and-
mind.
Google egress.
First of all, oh yes, Google is my favorite. I mean, it's
Which
something
one?
Rich has to continue to clean up.
I know. So
They do get blown down and it becomes blowable garbage. And
Hits cars.
and some points it's unsightly and dangerous on the corners and other sightlines. So by having this policy, we
I
can
agree
remove
on
everything.
that.
We will store the signs. If whoever wants to come and get them, they'll be in the garage waiting for them for like 2 weeks. And if not, we will,
I wouldn't want to start.
we'll store them for a good whole 2 weeks and then they'll be gone. But I think that's pretty good. Do we need to make a motion?
Yeah,
on
will
this?
somebody go for the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Would somebody second it, please?
I'll second that.
Trustee Denise, all in favor? Okay, yes, so moved. And now I ask for a motion to go into executive session.
To discuss a pending legal matter?
Yeah.
Thank you. I will make that motion.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Rich,
Thank
can
you,
you
audience.
kill the camera?
Good night, all.
Thank you,
Good night.
Peter.
Bye, Peter.
Thank you, Rhoda.
Peter.
Thank you, Matt.
Did we have any